conversation continues. And Ursula, I'm really interested in some of the comments you made about some of the, I did not know the story about Douglas MacArthur. That's fascinating. What are some of the, who's the most fascinating person that you've come across in San Antonio's past? And we've had a lot of them.
We have. Well, it's an interesting story. There's two interesting stories. The one that I think most people don't realize is that the first mayor of San Antonio, talk about a hotbed of political controversy. He came from the Canary Islands and arrived on scene, became the mayor, the alcalde, and immediately got into fights and trouble. There was always some sort of controversy having to do with his administration, but he served several times, Juan Leal, and he is one of the most interesting characters because the entire time he led San Antonio, there was nothing but fighting and lawsuits and, you know, what's old is new again, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Another interesting character is the guy who originally built San Fernando Cathedral, actually left this town, branded a murderer, and was never seen again. Wow. And so there all kinds of dramas occurred in this little tiny town that wasn't called San Antonio, by the way. Did you know that our town originally was called San Fernando? It became San Antonio much later. Wow.
Okay, so Josh, the past is prologue, I guess, from debating whatever they were debating in the 1730s and 1740s to kind of what we're debating today.
Well, I mean, you know, I've written a little bit for the newspaper on some historic stuff, and going back hundreds of years, there were discussions about how to fund the construction of bridges and whether to pave streets, and so all of this stuff that we're dealing with at the heart of municipal government now is very similar to the stuff that they're talking about 200, 250, 300 years ago. There's a certain need for any community, those basic services, and I think it's evolved some now. We have more discussions about what those core services are and how to deliver them versus what other things city government has to do for people. But again, at the core, and what our council campaigns on every 2 years is delivering those basic services. Trash pickup and fixing potholes and building sidewalks, and those are the things. If you go back through archives and look at newspapers from centuries ago, those are the things that they were talking about.
If I might add as well, one other thing that they were fighting about was fighting a common foe, because they were being attacked by Comanches and Apaches. So the people of San Antonio, which was already a very diverse settlement, people from Mexico lived here. Anglos lived here that came down from the north. We also had the Canary Islanders, the Spanish, the Presidio soldiers. And so all these diverse people were all afraid. And so, again, looking back then and now, one of the big issues politically was how to keep your town safe from the invaders who were going to come and ransack it. And they did ransack it over and over again.
That's true. And Ramiro, something that really strikes me as we celebrate our 300 years is the sense of optimism that there is in this community. Talk a little bit about what your members and businesses here of all types are telling you about how optimistic they are about the future.
Well, we love to say being Hispanic is a state of mind in San Antonio, and we are a big family of 1.4 million people. And as I consider what our members are thinking, they're optimistic because we have a great quality of life in San Antonio, and that's something that we should treasure and maintain. And when I look at the 300th anniversary, I read somewhere where our 100th anniversary, we were only like 8,000 people in San Antonio, and they kind of said, we're not going to celebrate 100 years. And then when 1918, our city was a little bit bigger, but economically the times were very difficult, and there wasn't much of a celebration. So really, when you think about it, this is the first time in 300 years that as a city, we truly have come together to celebrate our legacy. And that Spanish legacy, the Canary Islanders, is really the celebration of the future of the next 300 years of a community that has done it right, in my opinion, when you consider what we've built with very hardy, hardworking people, all kinds of ethnicities, the German, the Jewish community, Italians, Mexican, Spanish, on and on. It's something that we are celebrating today. It's how we coexist so well, and it creates economic development when we do business with one another, and that's a big part of the tricentennial celebration. In spite of the hiccups, I think it's ending well, and I think it's going to close by really saying, what's our legacy as a community? It's not a monument. It's not fireworks. It's not a musical score. It's about the people of San Antonio, and that we are a part of America now and where it's going in the future. And I think that's a positive thing about the tricentennial.
Ramiro, Josh, Ursula, thank you very much for joining us for The Conversation Continues.